buying so much real estate myself in the past year or two. I kind of burned
Yeah.
myself out, and but now I learned a lot, and just like to share what I learned. And because I don't feel like I listen to a lot of podcasts, but I don't feel like they really give you the truth. They kind of give you like the highlights of what goes great to get you excited about real estate, but they don't tell you like the truth of like what it's like to really, really own it. So that's what I've been
Yeah, like the
trying to do.
operation and the frustrations, right?
Yes, the operations,
I see.
the cash
You know what?
flow, everything. Oh, being disconnected. There you go.
Hi, sorry. I think it might be my internet. I think I might have to move room because this is like a room with crappy internet.
Okay.
Um, Let me see. Yeah, I had a chance to watch some of your videos. Like, I think I just watched two. So I kind of know a little bit about what you do, and I know you post a lot on Sarah too, which is great. And that's how I found out your link, by the way, for the YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Where are you based in Orange County, by the way?
Well, I'm in Los Angeles now, but I was in Santa Ana when I was
Oh, you
there.
were? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, got laid off during COVID, so had to.
Mm,
It's harder to find a job in Orange County as a
mm,
pharmacist. I
yeah,
was in pharmacy management. It's so saturated. There's so many Vietnamese pharmacists there. It's just another,
yeah.
and then no one really leaves, so I had to, you know, relocate elsewhere. But when I got laid off was when I actually scaled the most. That's when I bought my 80 units when I got laid off.
That's because you had more time,
Well, I had like
right?
time, but also
I got
like I
it.
just used all that like anger and frustration like towards buying real estate because it leaves a sour taste in your mouth when you get laid off, especially when you poured so much into your profession. And then
Yeah,
that's what fueled me kind of scaling rapidly in a weird
yeah,
way. But now I'm okay working. It's like for now.
yeah, yeah.
But how about
Hey,
you? What's kind
Kat.
of oh hey.
So for me, I still do clinical medicine, family practice, and then I work mainly at urgent care, like in Orange County. And I sort of picked up real estate during COVID too.
Mhm.
I mainly do midterm rentals right now. My husband and I, we have two single family homes in Bakersfield.
Oh,
And I don't know. The other thing that I was looking into is more kind of like land flipping, the but before I thought about land flipping, there was that desire to own like an apartment complex too. And so when I saw your post about how you purchased them and like it's like the price of a single family home in California, I'm like, hey, I want to hear more about this. And then I found out that you're doing like seller financing. It's like what 0% down and like you're showing that you're skin in the game by telling them you're going to do all these repairs, which I think is great because like I want to invest in it, but I also don't want to put so much of my money in. So um yeah, I think I just wanted to hear more about your journey and whether you came up with it or was it something that you learned from your coaching class?
yeah, it's kind of a combination. I listen to a lot of like podcasts as well, and I was part of a mentorship. It's pretty expensive to join those.
Yeah,
And honestly, the information it's nothing new with real estate. I'll be honest. It's just a
mm,
matter of, like, who do you like learning from, and like what type of style you like learning from. For me, I'm very like in the weeds and operational because I manage all 90 units myself right now. I renovated 40 homes in the past year while working full time, right? So I
yeah,
mean, I'm already a high level flipper, right? Like you hear all these flippers, and I'll teach you how to flip. Like I probably teach you how to flip too, because I've literally renovated 40 homes. But yeah, what kind of got me, honestly, I think the knowledge was already there. So if you understand this concept, um, that's pretty simple between single family versus multi. So for single family home, how is it? How do you value a single family home? Do you know?
I just I don't I mean, I heard a little bit about your podcast. Like you value it's just based on like the appreciation. It doesn't pay based on the rent, right? But
Yes.
commercial real estate, it is based on rent. So, um, you know, that's the extent of what I know.
Yeah, yeah. So you hit the nail on the head. So you see, you're a doctor.
Yeah.
So the value of a single unit, duplex, triplex, fourplex is residential real estate. The value is based on what your neighbor's house sells for.
Hmm.
So if your
Yeah.
neighbor's house sells for $1 million, good chance yours will sell for $1 million, assuming everything's the same.
Yeah.
For multifamily, the value is based on the net operating income divided by the market cap rate. So if your apartment complex gets $10,000 a month in rent versus mine gets $5,000 a month in rent, yours is worth double mine based on that same equation.
Hmm.
Well, single family, they don't care. Like whether your midterm rental gets $20,000 a month or $1,000 a month, the value is still the same.
Yeah.
It's based on what your neighbor's house sells for. So once I learned that concept, it really blew my mind because in California, it's mostly appreciation, right? You know, I'm from the Bay Area. I'm Los Angeles now. Like you buy a single family home, you know, single family home is about $1 million on average now in OC. But you can't rent it out for maybe like close to 4,000 if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And then you're not going to break even at all. You're going to be negative cash flow, and it's not even including property management or capex. That's just purely based on, you know, your PITI. So once I kind of learned that, I was just like, well, it's hard, right? I can't leave my day job if I buy a bunch of these properties because you're making money via appreciation, not through cash flow. Now, don't get me wrong. My single family homes, like my first one I bought in 2017, I bought for 800,000. It's worth 1.3 now. So I made $500,000 in net worth doing nothing, essentially. I just lived in it and I rented it out. But with apartments, you know, when I say apartments, that's 5+ units. You know, like I was looking at Oklahoma and it was just like, wait, I can buy a 26 unit for $500,000, which is like less than the cost of a condo.
I know, right?
Right? Like I lived in San Francisco, right? You can't even get a condo for $500,000. And, you know, day one, I was getting like 10K a month in gross rents. So if you were to buy a condo in like, you know, OC for $500,000, the most you can get is like $2,500, right? If you're lucky. So once I learned that, I was just like, oh wow, like, so I bought it for $500,000. I used direct mail for that. So I'm sure you know my story. So I sent out direct mailers. I negotiate directly with the owner because I don't like working with brokers because they don't give you good deals. Number one. Number two is they don't trust you if you don't have a track record. Like they don't care if you own like 10 single family homes. When I bought my first apartment, I already owned 5 single family homes. They don't care about that. They want to know that you have actual experience operating a business. And because apartment complex is operating a business, single family home, it's just kind of like, you know, anyone can do it. So I had no track record, so they wouldn't bring me the deal. Lenders won't like you either because they'll ask you, show me your real estate resume. I was like, what? What's a real estate resume? Right? And it's just like this is a job application. They would ask for that. So what I did was instead of depend on brokers and lenders, I wanted to find a deal so good that a lender would give me lending just because I bought it so well. And that's exactly what I did, right? I got it for $500,000. It appraised at 750K day one, right? And then I have the ability to raise the rents from 400 to 750.
Yeah.
And I'm currently doing that. I've been doing that because I'm renovating the unit. So I almost double my rent. What does that do to the value of my apartment complex? It's going to double the value, right?
Yeah.
So appraised at 750K. When I'm done with it, I'm almost done with it right now. Actually, it's going to be worth around 1.5 million, 1.6. So I bought for $500,000. I put in about 300,000 to renovate it. So I'm all in for 800,000 and I doubled it, right? So at that point, you can do a cash out refinance if you want to, and then pull out your down payment, pull out your renovation costs. You know, basically have no money in the deal, still cash flowing, and then you take that money, you buy another apartment complex. That's how you scale, right? Or an alternative is my loan's only 390K on this property. My mortgage payment, believe it or not, it's only 1,900. Right? And then rents right now, I'm literally getting about $13,000 right now. And I still have 6 units I need to rent out at $700 each. So that's another $4,200. So my gross rent is 18K. So think about it. You make 18K gross, half goes to expenses, 9K, 2K for my loan. That's 7K net, right? That's basically a pharmacist's salary right there. With just one property that cost me half a million dollars to do. And you can take that 7K a month, pay down your loan faster if you want, if you don't mind working. And then once you own that asset free and clear, you're making 18 to 20K gross a month without any loan or debt on that. Assume half goes to expense, that's 10K a month, right? That can replace an income, a pretty high income. And it's tax-free income, right? So that's like take home 10K. So once I learned that, I just said, wow, this is crazy, right? So I just repeat the process. That's how I bought my mobile park. I got that one seller financed. I did have to put about 100K down, got it for $1 million. And in the process of selling it right now. That one is not as much of a win for me because mobile park, it's definitely a harder asset class. If you listen to SAR, people always talk about, oh, I want to go to mobile home park and whatnot, but like it's so much work. It's like 5 times the amount of work to manage a mobile home park than it is to manage an apartment complex. So what I've been telling people is, had I just put that money to buy another apartment complex, I'd probably be in a better financial position and I probably would be a lot less stressed. Right. So that's what led me to ultimately selling it. And then I got my 20 unit apartment complex, which I bought for 350K, believe it or not. And then I finished, renovating all 20 units, putting about 120K. And my appraisal came back low. It only appraised at like 520K. I thought it was going to appraise at honestly 700K. But because interest rates doubled over the past year, and when interest rates double, cap rates go up. Right? So if you look at my equation, net operating income divided by cap rate, if you divide by a 1 cap, you're going to have a higher value versus you divide by a 10 cap. So the cap rate went from like 8% to 10%. So that decreases the value of your asset. But, this property, I'm grossing 10K a month and my loan is about 2,600 at 7% interest. Right. In like a couple of years, when interest rates drop back down to 4, I'll just refinance, probably pull out some cash on top of that as well. So, that's what I kind of did and how I kind of scaled. And I leveraged my single family homes in California to basically buy all my apartment complexes and mobile home park. So that's kind of like a high level. I bought all my deals off market, no broker involved. I wrote the contracts myself. I negotiated everything myself. I basically did everything A through Z.
Did you get a real estate lawyer involved in this?
Nope, just title company.
Title? Okay.
Yeah, because most states, they have generic forms. Like if you Google Texas real estate purchase and sale agreement, there's a generic form. It's like 5 pages. You just read it. And if we're smart enough to finish pharmacy school or medical school, I think we can spend an hour to 2 to read a 5-page purchase and sale agreement. And you can even ask the title company that you use, say, hey, do you have any sample purchase and sale agreements that I can use? It's pretty generic. But you just list what the purchase price is, what's the earnest money deposit, how long do you have for due diligence, how long do you have to close, and you're going to prorate the rents, you're going to prorate everything. It's pretty simple, like at a high level. That's what it really is. So that's all brokers. Once I learned that, I'm like, geez, these real estate brokers are useless. They don't know anything. They just give me this generic form that they filled out. It just makes
they do the admin work, right? Don't they do?
No, I've got 3 deals A through Z myself, and I'll tell you, it's easier when I'm just involved, right? Because like most of it is just like dealing with the lenders. You have to give them documents. If you do seller financing, you know the deal of lenders, even easier, right? So by going direct to owner, that's how you get creative finance deals. Like the next deals I want to buy, I want to put 0 down on my deals when I'm ready to buy again. I don't even want to put any of my money in the deal. I don't want to partner either. I just want to buy deals 0% down. So you have to find like owners who are distressed, right? So that's what I try to do with my direct mail. I mean, we work in healthcare, right? So, every day I see people die, disability, there's divorce, there's disagreement. That's when people want to sell, and that's when they're motivated. And sometimes they may not just want the money. They just want like mailbox money where every month they're still getting paid without having to do the management, right? So that's where you come in with, seller financing as an option, as a tool. And I think with interest rates being this high and banks being this difficult to work with, Like it took me 90 days to do a refinance on my 20 unit. It took me 45 days to buy it, 90 days to refinance. How does that make sense? Refinance is supposed to be easier and faster.
Yeah.
But because the lending market's so terrible, that's, things are difficult. So that's why like I'm really big on like direct mail and then like going direct to owners. That's how you get good deals. That's how you get seller financing. And that's how you can buy small apartment complexes under market. Once you involve a broker, they're going to jack up the price, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just the nature of it. So yeah, that's kind of how I kind of scaled.
In terms of like the mailing, I think you mentioned you mail out, was it 300 or 3,000 a month for 6 months?
Yeah, for me, I start off 300. So I use PropStream for my data.
Yeah.
And then I
Is that
use
like a good number that people use? Because I know for land flipping, it's a lot. Like for land, it's like a few thousand a month or something like that.
Yeah, it just depends on like how big your data list is, right? Because obviously there's a lot more land than there's going to be apartment complexes. So I use PropStream for my data. I refer a link that you can use. I think I have some videos of me doing an overview of Property Radar, but they're very similar. Basically what you do is you want to pull a list, right? So let's say you want to target, Oklahoma City. You basically put in a county, and you put in about 10 filters related to multifamily. And then from there, they'll give you a list of all your properties, right? So my list in Oklahoma City is around 600. So I just figured, if I'm sending 1,000 a month, well, I hit my whole list every month, right? So my goal was I wanted 300, because why 300? It's just a little pilot to see if the letter that I'm sending hits with owners. And I will say the fact that like you're a doctor, it's a leg up, right? If you have a esteemed title, it looks more credible and more professional, because we're basically, I'm Asian, I'm sending letters to Oklahoma as predominantly white. How are they going to trust you? But when you put like Dr. Stephen Nguyen in front of it, because
you actually use the doctor when you do your direct mail?
Yeah. Okay. So you want to leverage your title, right? If you're a nurse, if you're a veteran, if you're a doctor, whatever you are, if you have an esteemed title, leverage it. They take you so much more seriously. And let me give you an example. Like one of my students sent letters out, and they don't have a nice title. They get these, people calling back saying, "Oh, you're from California. I don't like your politics." Well, it has nothing to do with me wanting to buy your apartment complex, right?
Yeah.
But you just get those type of people. But like when I use my title, I never got like an angry caller to me, because they respect you more, right? Because you're a doctor, so you want to leverage your title. And so PropStream for the data. I use Yell Letters Complete to outsource my lettering campaign. And then
what is
from
it
there,
called? Yell campaign, you said?
Yellow Letters Complete.
Yellow. Okay.
Yeah, and then from there, basically, I send out 300 letters a month, and typically you get a 1% to 3% response rate. So if you're in like a hot market like California, Texas, Florida, 1%. So expect about maybe 3 calls a month, and then it's going to be about 9 to 10 if you're like in a not as hot market like where I'm at. So it's definitely discouraging. Honestly, in the beginning, it's discouraging, right? You send out these letters, and you're obviously investing money, and then you're talking to owners. A lot of the owners, they're not serious. They're just trying to fish and get a high price. But then when you get that one owner that's willing to play ball, it pays for everything, right? I did 300 letters for 6 months, and I literally bought 2 apartment complexes that made me $300,000 of equity day one. So I spent $3,000 to make $300K of equity day one.
Oh, Kat can't hear anything.
Oh,
I can hear. Can you hear us, Kat?
maybe try.
Maybe try exiting and go back.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna type it for her. Okay, try to exit, and come back in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wonder if she's even typing.
That's kind of how I got kind of started there. So, it did, like, I definitely would say I'm probably a little bit faster than most. And the key is, so the point of the letter is to get them to call you. That's it. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so there's a method that I basically teach, and you want like an invitation size envelope. So they're smaller, right? It's an A2 size envelope. And
Okay.
then after you get an A2 size envelope, what you do is you don't actually seal. So we actually handwrite the owner's name on the front.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, can you hear now?
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of how I started my direct mail.
Okay. I'm curious, how did you pick Oklahoma again?
Yeah, people always ask me that. Um, honestly, I had a good property manager there. That's it.
Yeah. And that's the property manager that you got through your mentor, right?
Yeah. So
Got
he
it.
referred me one property manager, but what I kind of teach is you want to get at least three. So because you want backups. So that property manager was from my mentor, but the other one I found myself because that was out of their range a little bit. So I have two, but I have a backup one after that in case, you know, they don't pan out.
Yeah.
So, so, you know, they have their pros and cons, you know, obviously. But yeah, I got referred a great property manager, and it's just landlord friendly. Property tax is not as high as Texas. It's a steady Eddie market. You know, it doesn't really go up and down, regardless if it's a recession or bull market. So that's why I really like it. I call it the unsexy market. It's just like the Southeast, right? That's like Arkansas, what is it, Oklahoma, you know, Alabama, kind of like those areas. That's why I did it.
Yeah.
So what I just tell people is like, oh, how did I choose a market? Honestly, number one, just choose a market where you have an unfair advantage in. That's how I say it. Like, I have an unfair advantage in California because obviously I live here, and I have an unfair advantage in Oklahoma because I was referred a great property manager. So just scale in those two areas. You know, but if you were to look at metrics, what I kind of teach, you know, in the mentorship is like, you want to choose an area where there's job growth, which leads to population growth, which leads to rental demand. And then I want to choose areas in the Sun Belt. So if you draw a smiley face on the US map and anything below that, that's the Sun Belt. And then you want to buy in landlord friendly states, ideally. Oklahoma, I can evict someone in 15 days. They don't pay, 15-day notice, they're out. Right.
Yeah.
But, you know, I will say, like, you know, California is a bit hard to evict people, but you always have a demand for renters in California. Like, it's guaranteed, but, you know, you're not going to be cash flowing as well. So that's how I chose Oklahoma. What type of markets were you looking for or looking at?
I was thinking of Ohio. I thought about Ohio, like Columbus metropolitan, outside of that, or Indianapolis, because Indianapolis has quite a bit of job growth, but I don't know about those winter states, you know.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of winter because, you know, I'm an ignorant Californian, so I don't know anything about snow. But if your pipes burst from snow and freezing, that's going to be a lot of money, a lot of headache, and it's not worth it to me. So that's why I invest in the Sun Belt.
Or tornadoes of Oklahoma.
Yeah, Oklahoma has tornadoes and hail. So it's tornadoes, hail, Alabama. I mean, choose your poison, right? You know, California has fires, but I guess relatively speaking, not terrible. But yeah, my insurance went up by $5,000. My insurance was $20K for my 20 unit. It went up to $25K in 1 year because of everywhere it got hit with insurance. So a lot of people invest in like Houston, Texas. They got hit too. So, you know, it's pick your poison as well. That's why I said, if you have a good team there, then by all means do it. But other than that, you know, obviously, I just try to avoid snow. But yeah, I guess if you avoid snow, you get tornadoes and hail. Yeah, I guess pick your tornadoes are very destructive in a small radius, right? Hail, yeah, that can damage your roof, break your windows. But snow, if you burst your pipes, like in Oklahoma did have that. There's a little freeze, the polar vortex, I think last year. Some apartments got hit, but you know, you have to buy good insurance. You know, that's what I teach. You have to buy really good insurance, and it'll actually cover it'll cover the cost of repair, but also cover the missed rents as well.
Yeah. How did you come up with the financing for because you said you spent $300K on renovating that Oklahoma complex? Like, how did you come up? Was it just cash money that you have, or like how did you come up with that?
Yeah, so I took a loan. I cash out refinanced my single family homes in California that had a lot of equity. Okay. Remember, I mentioned earlier I had about $500K in just one property.
Oh, that one.
So when interest rates dropped, like during COVID to like, you're talking like 3%. I cashed out, refinanced a bunch of them, pulled out money, obviously leveraged my single family homes to the hill. So they're not cash flowing for me, but I was able to pull out a lot of money at 3% interest, which is almost free money at that point. And then now I was basically able to buy basically 2 apartment complexes and a mobile home park and fund my renovations for all of those. But on top of that, I have lines of credits. So through First Republic Bank, unfortunately, they kind of went bankrupt. They got bought
I love
by
the bank.
yeah, they got bought by
Chase.
Chase, but they gave you 100K personal line of credit unsecured.
Well, but I thought, I mean, okay, maybe I follow too closely with the books. You can't use it for like, you can only use it for your primary home and like family planning and student loans. You can't use it for other things. Like what?
That's what you tell when you apply, right? Maybe it is. I'm living in these homes. How do they know, right? I could be living in my apartment complex, but
Yeah.
I just will say, once you're approved and you make your payments, you're good, right?
I remember that. My friend did that.
Yeah. Once you make
For
your
other
payments,
things, yeah.
and then
Yeah.
you know, if you have a 401k, you can take a loan against your 401k. If you have a whole life insurance, you can take a line of credit against your whole life insurance. If you have a stock portfolio, like I have one through Charles Schwab, I have a line of credit against that too. And these are my emergency reserves, right?
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit more leveraged than I would like to be. That's why I'm selling my mobile home park, to deleverage myself a little bit and, you know, stabilize my current assets. But that's how I was able to self-fund everything. I didn't need a partner. I funded everything, and, you know, didn't need to raise money, and, you know, did all this while working full time. And you see a lot of gurus saying, oh, I own like 100 units, but they partner, right? So they don't really own 100 units. They own a piece of 100 units.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people on SAR, they syndicate, and they're like, oh, I have like 200 units, but, you know, they partner 4 or 5 people. And when they talk to me, they're like, oh, do you syndicate? I'm like, no, I just own 90 units. I don't partner.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's different, right? And I'm the one managing everything. And usually the person you talk to on syndicators is this guy who memorizes PowerPoint, who doesn't know shit about operations. And they just regurgitate the same PowerPoint over and over, but they don't know anything about like how much it costs to renovate a kitchen, how much it costs to evict a tenant, like what are the landlord laws. They just regurgitate this like PowerPoint, right? So because I've done A through Z, like I kind of know at this point, like who actually knows what they're doing or who doesn't. So, and you obviously you will learn too if you buy your own and actually manage it yourself. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Did you
Is there
do a
DSCR?
BRRRR on this? Oh, go ahead.
I was wondering if there's a DSCR lender that you would highly recommend.
Yeah, there's one that I'm working with. They're actually based in Irvine as well. You know, DSCR lenders, what's nice about them is, you know, obviously they're easier to work with. You don't have to show your W-2, you don't have to show any